Page over here. Yeah. He's here over Shabbos. Yeah. Yeah, he is here. Good morning. Welcome. Great to see you. It's going to be an ongoing.
Okay, because I'm going away for a couple of weeks.
All right. Well, we always have the recordings available, so we will make sure I'll make sure to get that to you.
It is warm.
Yeah. Still haven't figured out how to control the climate in this room. Okay, all right. Oh, there's always something. There is cream. There is. Yeah. I meant to grab it earlier. I'll be right back. I don't know if there's milk, but there's definitely cream. Hey, good morning. Good.
I read Sandrine. I remember to you. I replied to your email with the link and we haven't started yet. Okay? Oh no, everybody needs a link. Yeah. You're welcome. It sounds super like if you go.
All right, we're gonna-
Start of the Kabbalah, it's always there. Yeah.
It's in that guy over there. Yeah. What are you gonna do? No. We're still perfecting our victims over here. It's a process. Well, it's right. This one. That we work on. Oh. Jeff, I told you I wasn't kidding. We've upgraded. We're gonna do this every week. We're getting a delivery from Kosher Gourmet. We bake the bagels fresh Sunday morning.
Because I could have done that for you too, if we were there early, never mind.
Okay, listen, I'm always open to go in that.
No.
Thanks very
Why
much.
is that done?
They wouldn't let me do it.
Really? Huh. I hate to cause any
No, it's all right,
any
but I don't want.
catering wars here. Who am I to stir the old pot? All right, let's get rolling. Let's see who we have online on our crew. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Hey guys, listen, never feel guilty.
Hey,
Never
listen,
feel
I never
guilty.
feel guilty.
Good.
Great class today, guys.
All right. Good morning, everyone. All right, let's see who's here. David, good morning. Shavua Tov. Sarah, good morning. Shavua Tov. Joy, welcome. Good morning. Shavua Tov. Okay, you guys ready? How's the bagel upgrade? Not bad, huh? Okay, good. It is an upgrade, right? For sure an upgrade. Yeah. All right, listen, it takes a minute, but we're gonna get back up to speed. Oh, nice. Steve Howard says hi. Awesome. Hi, Rep. I don't know if he's around, but hi, right back at you. So Steve says hi. David's writing. Steve says, hey, Dr. Maxey. Good to see you. Welcome. Okay, this is exciting. Hold on, Sinju, what were you saying? About the yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is a win-win. Just until we were able to facilitate a delivery, because it's a little bit of a stuff to pull down, but we got that going. Okay, let's get started. I'm super excited about today's discussion. Really, really stoked. Okay, first of all, it's great to see everyone. Whether in person, online, it's great to see everybody here, getting the week started with some Kabbalah. All right, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a formal welcome to Kabbalah Cafe. This is our weekly journey into all things mystical to get the week started with a Kabbalistic jolt. It's not just the coffee that's strong, it is hopefully the Kabbalah that is strong as well. All right, so today's topic is all about the power of a question. The power of a question. So I want to talk first about the dangers. Wow, this is nice. The dangers of echo chambers. Okay, what is the danger of an echo chamber? So let's talk about that for a moment. First of all, let's define an echo chamber. An echo chamber is a space where your ideas are agreed to. Good morning, Boker Tov. An echo chamber is a space where your ideas are agreed with by everyone. Everyone agrees with you. Oh, so Sandrine says, beautiful. Thank you very much. Everyone's agreeing with me. I found paradise. Where is that place? Show me the place. Let's go. If I can imagine everyone agrees, it's amazing. Danielle, welcome. It is so nice to have you here. Welcome. So imagine a space where your opinions are in the majority, where you say something and everyone's like, that's amazing, it's brilliant. It will be wonderful, self-esteem wise, no arguments, nothing. I want to tell you a story. The story is a story from the Talmud. It's a wild story, so buckle up, here it goes. There was a rabbi whose name was Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan was one of the greatest scholars of the generation. He is one of the greatest and most prolific scholars in the Talmud. Almost every, and I can't say every page, but every other page you're going to find Rabbi Yochanan. So here's what happened. One day Rabbi Yochanan was bathing in the river. What was the story? No, maybe. All right. I don't remember the exact details. My memory is foggy as to who was bathing in the river. It doesn't matter. We'll leave the river out of it. We'll just talk about a meeting, an encounter that happens. Rabbi Yochanan encounters a fellow who is known as Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish. You know the story? You've heard the name Reish Lakish. So here's the Reish Lakish origin story. By the way, Reish Lakish is the name that we call him, but his real name was Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Shimon, Reish Shin, when you put the acronym of which is Reish Lakish. Let's go Reish Lakish. Anyway, so Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan meet each other one day. And again, the details, someone's in the river, someone's not in the river. At that point, although Reish Lakish had grown up
within the Jewish community. And he had gone, according to most accounts, he had gone to some sort of level of Jewish education. At some point in his life, he had turned to a life of crime. And he was not just a criminal, he was a criminal mastermind. Although that sounds very intriguing. Criminal mastermind, right? He's now the leader of a gang. Right? Reish Lakish also sounds like a pretty cool street name, just saying. Anyway, so Reish Lakish is a guy who's up to no good, big time. He meets Rabbi Yochanan. And they begin talking. My understanding is, again, according to one version that I believe is out there, they had known each other from their youth, and Rabbi Yochanan knew Reish Lakish from back in the day, and he knew that he had kind of gone in a totally different direction, and he's encouraging him to come back to a path of goodness. And there's a conversation, and there's a dialogue back and forth. Part of it is, he says, I'll introduce you to my sister. Rabbi Yochanan says, it's legit. He ends up, and by the way, so long story short, he ends up coming back into a life of, what would be the opposite of a life of crime, a life of Torah mitzvahs. There you go. A life of mitzvot and good deeds, as opposed to a life of crime. So he is, So he is turning himself to a life of, hey, Ray, welcome. Glad you joined. So he's, good to see you. He turns his life back into a life of propriety, and he marries Rabbi Yochanan's sister. So now they're brothers-in-law. Part of the deal was that Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan were not just brother-in-laws now, but they also became study partners. And they studied together. In fact, wherever you find Rabbi Yochanan's name mentioned in the Talmud, you will find also Reish Lakish's name. They were study partners, but in addition to being partners, they were one of the most famous pairs of, what would be a good word for this? Combatants, Talmudic combatants. They're always, throughout all the Talmud, they're always disagreeing. Rabbi Yochanan says kosher, Reish Lakish says not kosher, or vice versa. Hundreds and hundreds of times throughout the Talmud, you find a disagreement of opinion between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Say it again? Like Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai lived earlier, but similar vein. You have famous pairs. Hillel Shammai is probably the most famous. Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish, also famous. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, also famous. By the way, some of you may recall, I've taught classes on this before. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, that was the famous Achnai oven. Remember this oven? There was an oven that was built a certain way that was a little bit weird, and there was a debate on whether or not it was considered to be a real oven that could then become impure or not. And there was a big debate in the Talmudic call. Rabbi Eliezer disagreed with everyone, and he performed miracles, and ultimately he was banished from the academy. Anyway, long story short, bottom line is there are many famous pairs of, I think there's a word for this in English, interlocutors or something along those lines. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. Interlocutors. I don't know. I think so. Maybe in context, I remember. They're like famous sparring partners, intellectual sparring partners. The truth is, this is not even unique to these individuals that we mentioned a moment ago. This is true on every page of the Talmud. Whoever it is, every page in the Talmud is filled with debate. You will never find a page in the Talmud where everyone agrees. Somebody said something, and this rabbi agreed, and that rabbi agreed, and they all went home happily ever after. You will never find a page in Talmud like that. There's always debate. The amazing thing is that all of the opinions in the debate get recorded in the same book, which, by the way, we take it, those that have studied Talmud are familiar with Jewish thought, take it for granted. Name one other work in which all of the opinions are equally shared on the same page. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. You know, they say history is written by the victors. You ever hear that? You ever hear that phrase? History is written by the victors, by the people who won. You get one narrative. History books have one narrative, right? Newspapers, one narrative. You read news online, whatever your favorite flavor is, it's one narrative. There's a publication that comes out. It's called The Week. Comes out every week. And what they do is they bring up I don't work for them. Somebody got me a subscription years ago and is still getting me a subscription to it. It's a wonderful print magazine. Basically take the big issues of the day, of what's going on, and they give you all the opinions. This editorial, that editorial, they give you all the sides, right, left, center, and you have a nice schmork. That's the closest, huh? Yeah. Oh, it's called The Week. The Week. Literally, but W-E-E-K, not W-E-A-K. Not week as in, no, The Week. Like dervach in Yiddish, maybe it would be called. The Week. Hashavua. So, anyway, it's not a plug for The Week necessarily, although I think it's kind of intriguing. But very rare is it to find a document that contains all opinions, even ones that disagree with the ones of the editors. The Talmud has every opinion. The Talmud cites every opinion. And what we learn from the Talmud is something fantastic. You can disagree, and it doesn't have to be disagreeable. And this is a skill in life. It's a life skill. How to disagree without being disagreeable. How to tolerate dissent without descending into chaos, into fighting. That's a skill. And it's a very important skill in life. Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, they were brothers-in-law. They were best of friends, because I saved the last part of the story for now. So here's what happened. Reish Lakish passed away. They studied together for many years. They lived a long life. At some point, Reish Lakish, former criminal turned Talmudic scholar, star, right, par excellence, he passes away. The Talmud tells us, Rabbi Yochanan, the surviving study partner, his brother-in-law, fell into a massive depression. The other sages did not know what to do. Here's the leader, one of the leaders of the community, and he is completely forlorn. He's completely devastated and depressed. They can't shake him out of it. So they decided to find the most brilliant student of the time that they could find to match him up with him. They figured he probably needs a study partner. So they matched him up with this genius, this young genius. A little while later, he comes back and he says, "What is this? What is this? Everything I say, this guy agrees with. I don't need someone who agrees with me." He says, when I was studying with Reish Lakish, everything I said, he disagreed with. And he gave me 12 reasons why I'm wrong. And I came back with him with 12 reasons why I'm right. And he came back with 24 reasons. And through the process, opinions got clarified, positions got sharpened, and the truth slowly emerged. Now you're giving me a yes, man? He says, I know my opinion. I know why my opinion is right. I want to know why my opinion is wrong. And eventually he passed away out of heartbreak. That's the implication of the Talmud. He died shortly thereafter. So it's a tragic ending, a sad ending. But in the purposes of today's conversation, here's what I want to point out. Truth is arrived at. One of the ways that we arrive at truth is through the process of questioning opinions, questioning ideas. An echo chamber, the problem with an echo chamber is that we're not questioning the position. And if we're not questioning the position, then how do we know how strong or how true or how right, how accurate that position is? The only way to know the strength or validity or authenticity of a position is when you challenge it. In other words, I think, I grew up in Pittsburgh, which I try to mention in every class. Now, anyway, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, and as a kid, so the sports, like the sports fervor, let's say in football, was around the Steelers. That was like, I grew up with my bubby feeding me. I remember this as a kid being fed food. I don't know how young I was. I don't know, maybe 13. I'm kidding. I don't know. How old are you? But I remember this. I somehow remember this. She would tell me stories. Or maybe I was eating, but she was still like trying to tell me stories. She was like, when the Steelers won the Super Bowl, right? 79. So they had a parade. So she used to tell me. Terry Bradshaw, the famous quarterback for the Steelers, 4-time Super Bowl winner, said they had a parade. It went down our street, this street, Phillips Avenue, and Terry Bradshaw needed a drink, came into the house, and in this very kitchen, he had a drink or something to eat. Wow, as I'm eating, whoa, this is amazing. So the Steelers were the big deal. I wasn't into college football, college athletics. It just wasn't a thing for me. Until I got a little bit older and I realized just how, also college football is on Saturday, it's a shot. Anyway, I realized later, right, how big college football is. For sure. Yeah, the South, SEC, it's the real deal. The South is the real deal. Bama just lost. Bulldogs just won. Beat Tennessee. It was a big game. Big game. Anywho, right? I'm not wrong here. 93,000. Where? They have
93,000 people in the stadium.
93,000 people in the stadium yesterday? Wow.
That's a big thing.
The tickets started at 600. Let's do the math. I once did the math, by the way. I get very like certain things. I'm like, I just want to do the math on this. I'm not doing the math in my head on that one. But I was going through the Holland Tunnel, I don't know, a year or two ago, and it was like they bumped up the price like $15. I think I could be wrong, but it was like a lot of money to go through the Holland Tunnel. And Holland Tunnel. Yeah.
$60?
No, like 15 or something. Is it 15? I could be wrong. Someone can fact check me, huh? It is, right? It's somewhere in that range, between 10 and 15. It's a lot of money to go through the tunnel. Only one way. To New Jersey, they're like, come, please, we want you here. We have the IKEA. Come. I don't know if they have one in New York now. We used to go when we lived in Brooklyn across. Anyway, the point is like this. I did in my head, I Googled like how many cars go through Holland Tunnel, divided by half, multiplied by 15, like this, and plus all the bridge and tunnels. City's making like millions of dollars a day just on that fee. Anyway, the point is, back to Athens. You would imagine that most people, so when you go to a college football game, I went to one college football game in my life. It was the Peach Bowl. Somebody gave me a few tickets. I went with my son Shalom, whose birthday was yesterday, by the way, 14. Can you imagine? It's been a year. Unbelievable. So anyway, I went to a game in the old Georgia Dome. They blew that up, right? With the bus right in front of it. Anyway, remember that? The bus, as they were filming it, there was a bus that pulled up right as it was imploded. Remember that? There was a meme for days, for years, not days. Anyway, so I went to a game between two random teams, Houston and Florida State. Houston something, and then the Seminoles. So we had the familiar chop chant. It at least felt like Atlanta, felt like Georgia, for better, for worse. And then that was it. But what was interesting is that the stadium, we were just, I would call us agnostics. I don't know, like we were like neutral, very neutral. Spectators. We were just enjoying the experience, huh? Joy, what'd you say? Observers, right. We were being observant Jews at that game. We were very observant, right? Very super observant. And but definitely the stadium, you could see they had sold sections to the respective, and they do these cheers. It was the only college football game I've ever been to. They have these very formal cheers. The band, they have bands, each team has a band. They play their song. They have the brass section. It's always like the big section. And it's like a big deal. And when it's your team, when it's not your team, terrible. It's an echo chamber. Your team is the best, the other team is the worst, and that's it. For whatever reason, I feel like discourse, and this is not, I'm not wading into anything specific, nothing political. I'm not specifically referring to any specific thing. But I feel like dialogue or conversations or opinions have moved to a space of college football, i.e., where your team, your side, echo chamber, etc. When it comes to Torah, let's for sure about Torah, what we know is like this, that it's the diversity of opinion, but more than just diversity of opinion, it's challenges, it's hitting a question, it's hitting an opposing point of view that really creates something magical. It's why the Talmud doesn't just tell us what the halacha is. We have what the final law is. We have a code of Jewish law for that. The Talmud takes us through the journey because you can only arrive at truth when you have debate, when you have a dialogue where each side is confident enough to be challenged. I don't mind getting asked tough questions because either it'll bring out a good answer or I'll realize I'm wrong. Either way, it's about the truth and not about me, not about ego. So I think it's very important to recognize what I would call the Jewish model of intellectual discovery, which is very much a product of questions. So we're going to explore the Kabbalah of questions right now. And I want to share with you one other point before I do that. If you've had the opportunity, and I would say the great fortune of studying the Rebbe's talks on Rashi, for example, it's a most remarkable experience. It's very hard. It's very hard to fully describe just how magnificent it is. So just a quick background. After the Rebbe's mother passed away, what year did she pass away? She passed away in the 60s, I believe. So the Rebbe started, as a tribute to his mother, the Rebbe began on a regular basis at his Fabrengens, at his talks, to share insights into Rashi. So Rashi is the foremost commentary on the Torah. He is what you would call the basic commentary, like the basic level commentary. He's not giving you anything like mystical or allegorical, or, he's not giving you anything like out of the box. It's more of the straightforward explanation of the text. In fact, in his introduction, Rashi says that I'm writing this commentary for the initial student of the Torah. In other words, for the person who's opening Torah for the first time to understand the simple meaning of the text, Pshuto Shel Mikra, the simple meaning of the text, this commentary is for that. So that's why he's become the de facto, a commentary of Torah. If you want to study Torah, the first basic commentary you study is Rashi. But Rashi's always been seen as, a simple, kind of basic, very basic. Okay. And then the Rebbe jumped in on this. Again, from the 1960s, for years, the Rebbe would share on a pretty regular basis talks about Rashi. And inevitably, this is how the format would go. The Rebbe would quote the verse, he would quote Rashi's statement, and Rashi writes very brief, like a few words or maximum a line or two. Very, very brief. A lot of brevity and concise writing in Rashi. In fact, according to our tradition, the story that we know is that Rashi wrote his commentary multiple times, cutting it down, to the core, getting it very, very concise. Less is more. Anyway, so Rebbe quotes the verse, quotes Rashi, and then, like a surgeon, begins cutting Rashi apart. It's breathtaking. The experience is breathtaking. The Rebbe would often ask 5, 10, maybe even 12 questions on like a 5-word Rashi or a 2-line Rashi. Something that was so simple. For 900 years, people study Rashi. No one ever questioned this. And then the Rebbe points out, again, with surgical precision, just how none of this makes sense, based on a framework of understanding Rashi that the Rebbe kind of created. It's too long to get into, to elaborate on right now, but suffice to say, there's a book that's written called Klali Rashi, which are the rules of Rashi derived from the Rebbe's talks. It's incredible. Anyway, the point is, the Rebbe deconstructs Rashi and shows how what you thought Rashi was saying makes no sense. It makes no sense. Either Rashi didn't need to say it, or he said it in a confusing way, whatever it is. And then the Rebbe proceeds to reconstruct Rashi in a completely new way. And then once you have that understanding, it's like, what did we ever think before? This is based on all the information and all the facts. This is what Rashi definitely meant. And it opens up an incredible new vista of Rashi's commentary that contains some of the deepest secrets of Torah as well. I'm not doing a great job in explaining this other than stating it. I'm stating, and you have to, or you don't have to, but you're kind of taking my word for it. The only way to understand what I'm really saying from the inside out is to study. I'm sure at some point we'll have the opportunity to do that here, to get in depth, do some in-depth Rashi Sikha study. But here's the point: when you learn these essays, these insights, you see the Rebbe's methodical way of asking questions, and every question puts up a wall and another wall and another wall. And it's not to throw us off the trail. On the contrary, every question breaks down a previous understanding and opens up a brand new way of understanding. A good question. See, there's different types of questions. Some questions are kind of like distraction questions. It's like, oh, hey, look over there, right? There's some questions that are just off to the side. But then there are good questions. The best type of questions are the ones that don't allow the idea to move forward in its current direction. It has to pivot somewhere else. And it's that pivot that opens up a brand new door, a brand new window of understanding. I heard a story recently, just a magnificent story, about one of these talks. I want to just sort this out in my head before I tell the story. But one of these insights into Rashi. So there were a few people that went over to Rabbi Soloveitchik, also a great scholar, knew the Rebbe from back in Europe. Rabbi Soloveitchik wasn't a Hasidic rabbi, but he had a lot of respect for the Rebbe. So anyway, so two people went after one of these just incredible talks of the Rebbe, went to him and asked him a question on, I think, on Rashi. Like, asked the question that the Rebbe asked on Rashi in the talk. See what he has to say about it. So he gave an answer. And then they pushed with more questions from, again, they were just kind of creating that dialogue, asking more questions that the Rebbe had asked. And he gave some other answers. Then they asked the third round of questions. And he said, these are not your questions. These are not your questions. There's no way these are your questions. No, it's not possible. He said, but listen to what he said. Why? He said, because questions usually throw up a wall. Good questions open up a window. These questions are opening up an entire new chamber of ideas. There's no way you guys are asking that question. A good question opens up an entire new vista of information. According to Kabbalah, and this is what I want to get to today. According to Kabbalah, what's the power of the question? So to understand this, I'm going to give you two terms that Kabbalah cites fairly frequently. One is ar yashar, or ar yashar, which means a direct light. And then the other term is ar chozer. Ar means light. So ar yashar means a straight light, direct light, versus ar chozer means a rebounding light. Chozer means a returning light, a rebounding light. What does that mean? Give a simple example. The difference between a window and a mirror. Think about it. What's the difference between a window and a mirror? Okay, you're going to say one's a window, one's a mirror. Okay, I'm with you. But what's the difference? Both of them have glass. So what's the difference? In a window, all it has is glass. Assuming it's a transparent glass. When they're right, transparent glass, and you can see through. What about that's a window. What about a mirror? It also has glass. Maybe even the same type of glass, but what else does it have? Has a piece of metal, right?
A reflective backing.
Has a reflective backing, either silver or copper. I don't know. Truth is, I don't know because I don't know what's behind the mirror. But there's some sort of reflective surface behind it, so that when you look at it, what happens? The light, right, is not passing through it. It goes back this way, right? It's a ar chozer. It's a rebounding light. So Kabbalah says a few things about ar chozer, rebounding light. So number one, rebounding light gives you a greater view because now you can see what's behind you, right? Until now, you can only see what's in front of you. Our choser, rebounding light, gives you a gift of being able to see behind you. Remember the teacher who told you they have eyes in the back of their head? Right? Or the one that you thought had eyes in the back of their head, right? It was always, I was joking, mirrors in the glasses. I don't know. It's just teachers kind of know, parents also, they kind of know when kids are up to no good. It's just one of those things. Call it intuition. And I've been there, done that myself. Anyway, but the point is that a mirror gives you the gift of being able to see behind you. I'll give you another example of Ar Choser. So also with mirrors. Imagine you're standing outside on a hot summer day. And it's really hot. Sunny. No, not a cloud in the sky. And you're out in a field and you have with you a pocket mirror. Right? You have like a pocket mirror. You take the mirror and you direct the light at a blade of grass. You know what's going to happen? Or what might happen? It's going to burn. So here's the question. Makes no sense. The sun has been shining on this blade of grass the whole day. And now I take a mirror and I direct the light, the same light that's already on the blade of grass. I'm directing it toward that blade of grass, and now it's incinerating, now it's burning. Why? What's going on? Wherein lies the power of that reflected light? Right? What gives that light more power than the Ar Yashar, than the direct light of the sun? Are you with me on the question? I mean, you can try it, right? You can try it. You take the light, it's very hot. Or even if you go skiing, right? So the light that bounces off the snow is much brighter than the light. Yes? All right, maybe, I don't know if that's a good example. Anyway, the point is that when you reflect the light, it actually becomes hotter. What's going on? What's going on? It's weird, right? The Ar Yashar, the light that's coming directly from the sun, no interruptions, is whatever temperature. But I take that light and I bounce it off of something else, which you would think would diminish it, because now it's being redirected, right? It should lose its power, its velocity, as it were, not actual velocity. It should lose strength because it's being bounced again, but now it's hotter. What's going on? How does that make any sense? And so Kabbalah uses this as an example of the power of Ar Choser. The rebounding light, its power lies in the fact that it channels not the light, but the source of light. When you reflect the sunlight onto the blade of grass, if you look into the mirror, you know what you see? When you're the blade of grass looking at that mirror, you know what you see? The sun itself. You with me on this? Through the rebound, you almost capture the essence, obviously not the full sun, but you capture a part of the source and you put it directly onto the blade of grass. There's a ma'ar, the source of light, and then there's ar, the light. The ma'ar, the source of light, is much stronger than the ar itself, than the light. When you reflect, you're almost recapturing the source and putting it directly onto this. You know what it's like? It's like tshuva, repentance. Same idea. It's Ar Choser versus Ar Yashar. A tzaddik, someone who's never done anything wrong. By the way, good luck finding someone like that. But anyway, a tzaddik, someone who's perfect. Ar Yashar, everything is straight. Everything is straightforward. Everything is coming from the source. Great. However, a Baal Teshuvah, someone who has engaged in, done something erroneous, done something not so perfect, and now has come back, now has decided to change things around. That's called Ar Choser. That's a rebounding light. And the rebounding light is always stronger than the direct light, which is why the Talmud says, b'makom shebale tshuva omdim, ein tzadikim gemurim yocholam lamod sham. A place where the Baal Teshuvah, the penitent stands, the most perfect tzaddik cannot stand in that space. Why? Because there's a difference between direct light and indirect light, or reflected light. The reflected light is capturing the source. Someone who's done everything right, okay, but someone who has gone against and now is coming back, that person is channeling the deepest part of their soul and connecting with the deepest part of Hashem, deepest part of God Almighty. It's a much more powerful experience, and it's the rebound that creates that power. Getting back to the idea of questions. When we ask questions, or when our ideas are confronted by questions, what's happening is that the light of our ideas is hitting a wall, can't go further. That could either be a wall that kind of ends the idea, or if it's a good question, and if we're open to it, then it can be an experience of a mirror. What do I mean by a mirror? It can allow us to find a deeper truth, to see what is almost behind us, like ideas that we were overlooking, that we were not seeing, a truth that we haven't yet discovered. We can discover that through the power of a question. And so, as we kind of, I'm going to say, start today's discussion inside, it's important to recognize the power of being open to the question and the power of asking ourselves questions. You know, it's in life, we also have this. We have friends, and sometimes we think that the best friends that we have are the ones that will always support us and agree with us. I would argue, not just to argue, but I would say that maybe the best friends we have are the ones that challenge us and say, wait a second, are you sure about that? Is that a good idea? I don't know if you're right. It's like, oh, I can't believe what happened. It's like, wait a second. Here's another perspective. The best friends are the ones that act not as windows, allowing our ideas to pass through unchallenged, but rather act as mirrors to our idea. Like Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, he wanted a mirror. He wanted to see something he couldn't see on his own. He can see everyone, right? Our eyes, we can see this way. How do you see that way? I know, turn your head, but that's cheating, right? I can see this way from inside out. How do I see something completely behind or beyond me? How can I see something that I can't see? The answer is you can't unless someone holds a mirror up in front of us, unless someone obstructs our vision, our thought process. Someone says, wait a second, that idea, I'm not going to let that go through unchallenged. Here's a challenge in a healthy way. Perfect. Now I can see something that I couldn't see before. So what opens the mind? What creates innovation? What creates clarity? It's the question. It's the question. It's questioning what we know. It's questioning how we think. It's questioning how we feel. This is so important in life. Again, the tendency is that we want to feel comfortable. We want to feel unchallenged. We want to feel like what we believe in is correct and unchallenged and perfectly true. And everyone agrees with us, and that's fine. But the growth happens when we question. Make sense? Any challenges? Any mirrors to this idea? Good morning. Welcome. So great to see you. Come on in. So, yeah, it makes sense so far? Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to apply that to today's political scene.
Yeah, and I don't want to bring it into pot, but I think in general, a healthy conversation. It's good to be challenged. It's good to be challenged. It's healthy to hear an opposing point of view. I would say something else also. The more confident we are in our position, the more we can hear challenges, right? The more we can hear challenges, and we'll be okay. I just think, just going back to the Talmud, there's something very magical about the fact that on every page of the Talmud, there are countless debates and literally difference of opinions, and they're all recorded for posterity. They're all recorded. We're not leaving out any of the opinions. We're not saying, oh, that guy was wrong, he's cut out. right? All the opinions are recorded. It's all there. It's a powerful idea. Telushkin, Rabbi Telushkin, he wrote a biography of the Rebbe, and he writes in there how the Rebbe personified this idea of disagreeing without being disagreeable. Of disagreeing. The Rebbe didn't agree with everybody, but was never disagreeable, to the point that people that he disagreed with many times became advocates for other positions that he had because they hadn't fought with each other. In other words, when you're not fighting, you can disagree. It's like you think Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan were able to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner together. Of course. I know there was no Thanksgiving then, 1900 years ago. I know, I'm with you. But like conceptually, they were brothers-in-law. When one passed away, the other one died of depression, essentially. It's like, as I mentioned before. So of course they loved each other. And they still engaged in, but nowadays, the big thing is, if you disagree with your relative, then how could you sit at Thanksgiving together? It's like, how do we get there? On the contrary, what's wrong with a little healthy debate? Why does it have to get disagreeable? Why does it have to get personal? And I know what you're thinking. Well, because what's at stake is, all right, I'm with you. But for these individuals, halacha was life. Trust me, for Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, halacha, what God's will was the most important thing. They still figured out a way how to get along with each other, even though they saw things as night and day. So anyway, we're not going to jump into specific things and whatever and try to solve world problems. Just pointing this out, this idea of it's really an attitude in life of I welcome questions. I welcome challenge. I welcome different viewpoints. It's a healthy attitude, and it only serves to our benefit to clarify our own positions, to strengthen our beliefs, and to arrive at a greater truth than we could arrive on our own. The power of the mirror over the window. Now, make sense? Yes. That's a great question. I would imagine that if they agreed, it probably wasn't recorded. Yeah, boring, exactly, boring.
Two people seriously have the same desire.
Would always
like
disagree. So you're asking a great question. You see what's going on? I just got goosebumps. This is a great question. Right? Arlene's asking a great question. How could it be that two great scholars studying from the same text would always disagree? So now that's a great question. It opens up a new idea. I mean, now it allows to share a new idea. So, and this is from Kabbalah as well. Kabbalah says, not necessarily about Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, although there might also be, I have to think if there's also stuff in that. But regarding what Sandri mentioned, the famous disputes between Hillel and Shammai. So there are many commentaries that explain, even the Talmud says, that base Hillel, or Hillel himself, and then eventually his academy, the Hillel position was typically more lenient and understanding and more forgiving, whereas the Shammai position was usually more strict and exacting and disciplined. Two different positions. And Kabbalah explains, so that's the standard understanding. Hillel is more makel in the language of halachic terminology, more lenient, and Shammai is more machmir, more stringent. Okay, but Kabbalah steps in, and it's found in many places in Kabbalah, including Chabad Hasidic philosophy as well, and says that the reason for this is because of their respective soul sources. Hillel comes from Chesed. Now, we all have Chesed, which is kindness, but Hillel had an extra dose. His Chesed was amped up. Like the volume on his Chesed was like much higher. Shammai, his persona, he was personified by Gevura. The famous story of the Talmud says, fellow was looking to convert to Judaism. And he goes over to to Shammai, the OG Shammai, right? The original guy named Shammai. He says, Rabbi Shammai, can you teach me the entire Torah on one foot? And what does Shammai say? Get out of here. He chases him away with, says with the ruler, the measuring stick of a builder. Very interesting. Kabbalah speaks about why that specifically. Chase him away with like a yardstick. So then he goes to Hillel. He says, same thing to Hillel. Can you teach me the Torah on one foot? And Hillel answers, what is hateful to you, do not do to another. This is the entire Torah. The rest is commentary. Now go and learn. And he was so inspired by Hillel's response that he embraces Judaism and he converts to Judaism. And the Talmud says, thank God for Hillel. Because if not for Hillel, this guy would have been turned off from the whole situation. Because he got chased away by Shammai. And so the mystics say, well, what's going on here? Shammai is a more stringent soul. So he says, Torah on one foot? You want to distill the entirety of Torah down to one soundbite? To one bumper sticker? To one Instagram post? You can't distill God's wisdom into one little thing, one little small piece. That does a disservice. How dare you? He gets all indignant. He gets all frustrated with this guy. Gevura is the state of demanding a certain level, a certain standard. It's like there's a standard here in Judaism. You have to study, you have to know, you have to throw yourself into it, and then we can talk about converting to Judaism. You want a soundbite? So it took a ruler, a yardstick. It's measuring, it's measured. Gevura is about measured discipline, exactitude, precision. Chesed, generosity. It's giving. I'm not looking at what I'm giving. I'm just giving, generous. I'm not like, how much should I, shouldn't I? Shammai was looking at, do you deserve it? Do you how much have you studied? 1 foot? It's not possible. That's Shammai's perspective. Hillel, he's open. He's open to sharing. And so he finds a space for this guy. He finds space for the guy who only has 20 seconds. Torah in 20. Someone who only has 20 seconds. Is there a place for him? We can find a place. There's a place for you. Reminds me of a story. There was one of the coach for the Harlem Globetrotters. I know what you're thinking. That's not a real team. No, remember the Harlem Globetrotters? They always played the Washington Generals. Always beat the Generals. I went to a game as a kid. So much fun. Whatever. Right? That was the little tune that they had. So the coach of the Harlem Globetrotters, Jewish guy. He lived in Long Island. This is going back to 70s or 80s. And one night, he can't fall asleep. He's flipping through the cable channels. And he sees a Farbrengen. Back in the day, they used to broadcast on cable TV, select Farbrengens, obviously not on Shabbos, but weekday, big, few times a year. They would have simulcast translations, like Rabbi Manis Freeman. He would do he would listen in to the Rebbe speaking Yiddish and simultaneously speak the translation. The Rebbe wasn't stopping for the translation. It wasn't like he was standing, not like a typical interpreter. This was just on the fly. By the way, they've taken those transcripts. They are incredible. The on-the-fly Manis Friedman voiceovers in English, impeccable. Anyway, back to the story. So he's watching one of these. He has no idea what he's watching, but he's Jewish. Here's a rabbi in Brooklyn, and he's just completely taken by the experience, and he's totally inspired. He's like, I got to meet this guy. I got to meet this rabbi. So he drives down to Crown Heights, the next day, and he's like, I want to meet the rabbi. And they're like, it doesn't work like that. You got it. But eventually he found out a way in, and he says, Rebbe, he says, I loved watching you. I'm a coach. The Rebbe, without blinking an eye, says, perfect. We need a coach. So the Rebbe says, we need a coach. And at the Farbrengens, he would show up, and he would be the guy who would be motivating everybody, with the energy in the room. He was one of the guys that was the leader of the energy. And he stood out. He didn't look like a Hasidic looking fellow, but you see videos. I can maybe pull up right after the class. I'll show you a few videos of him. It's unbelievable. But the Rebbe's response, he says, I'm a coach. I don't know. He blurted that out. I'm a coach. Rabbi says, perfect. We've been waiting for a coach. We need a coach. What does that mean? It means like whoever you are, come how you are, we need you on the team, right? So to speak, right? We need you. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. That's a Hillel perspective. Open. Not like, oh, a coach, a basketball coach. I don't know if we need you. I don't know if you fit in to the 5-year plan. I don't know if you fit into the org chart. Let's go. Everyone's welcome. Come on in. We need a coach. That was a perspective. It's ultimately why, for being honest, it's ultimately why Hillel's position is the halacha. The final ruling when debates between Hillel and Shammai are always like Hillel, I say always, with a few exceptions. Like we rule like Hillel. For example, Hanukkah is coming up very soon, actually, like a little over a month. So Hanukkah, we light the menorah, first night 1, and then 2, and then 3 and 4. We increase every night, add a candle, and everyone does that. But in the Talmud, it's a subject of dispute. Hillel says you start the first night by lighting 8 candles, and then 7, and then you go down. Imagine first night of Hanukkah, you're lighting 8, and then 7, you diminish. You go down each night. No one does that because we rule like Beis Hillel, at the Academy of Hillel. Anyway, the point is that questions are important. Oh, so to address your long answer to a question, but the question was, did they always disagree? According to Kabbalah, at least with Hillel and Shammai, their souls were different. One, like, men are from Mars, women from Venus. I don't know if that's true or not, but Hillel was from Chesed and Shammai was from Gvura, and I would imagine there's a similar dynamic at play with Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, where they just, on a spiritual level, they just existed in a different space, which, by the way, also tells us that it's okay to have different perspectives on things from a core space. And that's okay. It's like you can be Chesed, I could be Gvura, vice versa, whatever it is. It's okay. It's okay. We're all in the same, I don't know, whatever it is. We're all in the same space. We're all in the same menorah. Kabbalah says the menorah, the temple menorah had seven flames. And we have 8 because of the number of days of the miracle, nights of the miracle. But back in the day, the original menorah from the temple had 7 lamps. And Kabbalah says that what's the significance of the 7 lamps? There's 7 personality traits: Chesed, Gevura, Teferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. 7 primary soul emotive traits, and each one represents one. So I've always loved the insight that no matter which lamp you are, you're in the same candelabra. You're in the same menorah. Menorah was hammered out of one piece of gold. I might be Chesed, you might be Gevura, or again, vice versa. But the bottom line is we're in the same space with the same purpose to bring light into the world. I may do it one way, you may do it a different way, but that doesn't mean that we are opponents. It's like puzzle pieces. They don't look the same, but that's how they fit together. Again, just a bit of perspective onto how to look at differences, not as our enemy, but rather as our ally. Okay, so now let's jump in, because all of what we spoke about so far is to explain one way in which we grow in our own understanding. We come in, we understand things a certain way, but through questions, we can open up a whole new vista of understanding. There's another way to do this as well. And that is, as we'll see today, that is through the process of, speaking. When we speak, it opens up brand new vistas of wisdom and insight into our the ideas that we are sharing. Okay, so let's pass these around. I know there's more copies than we need necessarily, but we are going to begin. These are double-sided, 2 up on each page. So we are going to start from page 31, where it says depth. And this should pick up right where we're leaving off. Let me pull it up. Oh yeah, it's right here on the PDF. I'm ready to go here online and read it here from the screen so we can all be on the same page. Oh, I'm looking at the chat here. Oh, there we go. We read that before. Okay. Depth. So we're talking here in our text about the power of speech, much like the power of the question, which is a rebounding light. When we articulate something with our speech, it allows us to understand it in a much greater way. Whatever we're understanding, it opens up new vistas of wisdom for us. Let's begin middle of 31. Furthermore, speech causes him to discover it's him or her, the person, to discover new insights that shed additional light upon the depth of the concept, which do not occur to him in the thought stage. So when we're thinking about something, the way we understand it is in a certain way, but when we articulate that idea, when we speak, when we project that through our words verbally, suddenly we discover new insights. It's like that Or Choser, that rebounding light that we spoke about before about a question. When we speak, it also opens up a whole new realm of knowledge. In other words, when he ponders the concept in the language of thought before it is verbalized, when you were just alone in a room thinking through your thoughts, he does not at all know or conceive its depth as he does during speech. It's incomparable. When you're thinking alone about a subject versus speaking about it to someone else, the way you understand the depth is incomparable. The speech evokes depth, for it is only then, when we speak, that the depth of the idea becomes apparent to him. Now he says something phenomenal, speech and Torah study. This is why one must study Torah aloud. As the verse says, we say it in the Shema every day, multiple times a day, V'dibarta bam, right? V'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha, right? V'dibarta bam means, and you shall speak of them. You shall speak of them. Speak means verbalize. By the way, there's another interpretation that I love. This is off topic, but I just want to share it. It says, Vishinantam levanecha, you shall teach it, the Torah, to your children. V'dibarta bam, and you shall speak of them. The simple meaning is what we're saying here. Teach Torah. Teach it to your kids, and when you study, verbalize it, speak of them wherever you go, wherever you are. There's another interpretation. Vishinantam levanecha, when you teach Torah to your children, then v'dibarta bam, then you'll speak about them, your children. Oh, my kid, nachas, right? You'll speak of your children when they are, alive with Torah study. So and that's a side idea, but the main thing that we're bringing out here is the power of verbalization, verbalizing Torah study. It is also written, and this is coming from Proverbs. The words of Torah are life to he that finds them. And as our sages explain, it doesn't mean find, but rather to he that articulates them with the mouth. So in the Hebrew, this works. The Hebrew, it says the following. It says, Chaim heim lemotz ehem. They are a life or a source of life for those who find them. But the Chazal say, or sages say, lemotzi ehem, not lemotz ehem, but lemotzi ehem, to someone who projects them, articulates them verbally. Let's continue inside that paragraph where it says speech and Torah study, halfway through. For when one studies a given halacha aloud, right? The key here is aloud. He will develop new insights into the depth of the halacha. Insights that would not have occurred to him had he merely pondered the halacha in his mind without actually saying it. So you can study Torah like you're reading a book. I'm saying each of us alone, right? You can study Torah like you're reading a book, just with your eyes. But in our tradition, you're supposed to actually say the words out loud. And he says, why? According to Kabbalah, this is why. Because when you articulate them verbally, your understanding is on a much deeper level. There's something about like the question, like the power of the question to bring out additional vistas of insight. When you verbalize, it brings out new vistas of wisdom. Let's continue inside. Similarly, there are times that only speech will cause the idea to take on various forms that it does not possess when it first emerges from the koach hamaskil. I'm going to explain what that is in a second. So sometimes it's only through speech that this concept will take on various ideas, various forms, greater than when it first emerged from the koach hamaskil. Koach hamaskil is the ability to come up with new ideas. It's the generative, it's the intellectual wellspring that we have. the power of new thoughts, the power of creativity. Imagine like a well, like a source of water that's constantly producing, bubbling forth water. Koach HaMaskal is the power of innovation. So when an idea first comes into our minds from the Koach HaMaskal, from this power of generative intelligence, it's generating new intelligence, the idea is a little bit limited as it's first produced. But when we speak about it, it widens, it broadens. So it did not possess it when it first emerged from the Koach HaMaskal, from which it descends to thought, and from 32, thought to speech in a specific and defined way. So in other words, when it first emerged from the Koach HaMaskal, from this source, from this spring of intelligence, it was limited, it was locked down, it was defined. And then it went from there into seichel, into machshav, into intelligence, into thought, and into speech. But speech causes one to perceive the concept in a number of ways, in this way, in that way. In other words, you can look at an idea from two sides now. You can see multiple perspectives. You can almost, you know what I would liken it to? It's like taking a 3D view of the idea instead of two-dimensional, where it's flat and defined, or kind of stuck in where it is. Now you're seeing like 3D or maybe 4D. It's kind of like there's a random thought that popped into my head. So let's go with it. Because when I articulate it now, it's going to make sense, right? That's what we're learning. So remember those games, when you were at the arcades, the car racing game? It has like a little booth you put in your quarters or whatever it is, or you put in your card, you swipe it, right? And now you're driving. And they would have like different views, view 1, view 2, view 3. One is like you're in the car, like you're looking at it as though you're in the car and you're seeing your windshield. Then there's like a more elevated, and then there's like the bird's eye view. It's almost like when you speak, you start seeing a concept in a bird's eye view. You're not in the concept, but you're like, you can see the contours of the concept, and you can say, oh, wait a second, this also connects with this idea. And now you're playing like 4D chess. Now you're seeing the whole board as opposed to just being a piece. Speech broadens the perspective. Let's continue. But speech causes one to perceive the concept in a number of ways, in this way and that, combining and connecting the two perspectives, which are either not contradictory or are actually one and the same, since they are both dictated by one essential point that demands them both. You can see the same idea from two perspectives, and you can understand further how both perspectives share the same truth. It's like you can study Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish and see how ultimately they both somehow, even though there might be, night and day, but somehow there's some sort of synergy between them. So, bottom line, speech elicits a new insight, or I would say new insights, from the source of the intellect that is not revealed when the concept initially emerged from its source. So when it first emerges, it's limited, but speech opens up a whole new way of seeing it. Even deep pondering of the concept will not reveal the depth of the concept of the halacha. Only speech can accomplish this. You can sit in your own head from today to tomorrow, thinking and meditating and pondering, and it will still never reach the depth that when you speak. They tell a story, the old Hasidic tale about the chicken. You're a farmer, right? And you have a chicken, and you want to clean the chickens. So you comb the chickens. Oh, the chicken falls into like a mud pond. I don't know, mud pond? It's not even a thing. It falls into a muddy puddle. And it gets all muddy. Now you want to clean your chicken because you care about your chickens because you're a good farmer. And so you comb and you wash and whatever. You're never gonna get all the dirt out. The chicken gives one shake, and all dirt comes out. It's kind of like you can be thinking about, that's usually, by the way, use an example of you can try to help someone, but only they can really help themselves to really, get out what needs to come out. But in this context, I'm using it for thought and speech. You can think about something, and ponder it and meditate on it and never really get to the full depth of it. You can get locked in your own head. But when you speak, suddenly it opens up new ideas. And of course, spoiler alert, part of it is that you're now opening yourself up to another perspective. You're sharing it. When you speak to someone else, now you've broadened the experience. It's not just you, it's you and them. And so there's a greater depth that comes. Let's continue. Third paragraph, for whenever a concept emerges from its source, i.e. the Koach HaMaskal, again, that's the source of ideas, only a fraction of the intellect is revealed. Only a fraction of the idea emerges. This is because when a thought is born from the koach hamaskil in an uncompelled and direct way, that's our yashar, only an external aspect of the koach hamaskil is revealed. So when thoughts or ideas, when they're produced in a straightforward fashion, you only get a little bit, a limited amount of that intelligence is coming out. Its true character, however, cannot be revealed on its own. It's going to come through some sort of effort, through some sort of extraction. So merely pondering the concept reveals only that which can be revealed, i.e. only the external aspect. You want to, in a straightforward fashion, you're only going to get the most basic, lowest level, or not lowest, but basic level idea. Now look what he says in the parentheses. That was my whole intro. Only by means of questions, concealment, and obscurity can the depth and profundity of the koach hamaskil be revealed. This occurs through the power of or choser, rebounding light. It's through questions, concealment, and obscurity. It's when you hit a wall, you can no longer go through, and you go back to your koach hamaskil and say, "No, you got anything better? Got something else for me?" Because that didn't work, right? You produced an idea, but we just hit a wall. You do better than that. And now you pull from the real power of the mind. What else is going to pull from? It's almost like, can you summon? This is like crazy. It could drive you like bananas in your head. Can you use all your strength to lift a piece of paper? Try it. Try to use all your strength. You can't. You know why? It doesn't demand it. You with me on what I'm saying? And I'm saying something obvious, but right? Lift a piece of paper and try to use all your. You can't. Because you need something heavy to summon the energy. You need something challenging. A question that challenges your way of thinking. Oh, now the koach hamaskil, now that source of intelligence, now it's getting excited. Now you can pull from your true power of your mind. You know what they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. Right? It's like when you need something, when some desperate times, desperate measures, you come up with great ideas. That's all the same thing. Only speech after the parentheses. So there's two things that bring out the depth. That's, again, just a clarity on today's conversation. There are two things that get you to the depth of an idea. Number one, questions. And number two, speaking it over with someone else, sharing it with someone else. Only speech can reveal the depth and profundity of the intellect, revealing that which cannot otherwise be revealed. Let's continue inside. This is because the words of speech force the intellect to reveal more than it can reveal on its own. That's a great line. The words of speech are forcing the intellect to give more than they're going to give normally. It's like your intelligence. It's like, here, take $1. Nope, it's not good enough. It's like speech says, I need more. I need more. Give me more. I demand more. Accordingly, only verbalization reaches the depth of the concept where thought alone cannot reach. It's when we speak something that we reach the depth where thought cannot reach. Top of 33. We'll finish this paragraph. Actually, yeah. We'll finish the paragraph and then we're going to conclude. 4, as mentioned above, speech reaches the depth of the concept and allows one to grasp its depth and profundity. This is why it can then be perceived in various ways that can all be combined and fused, since the depth of the concept is unlimited and can therefore be expressed in various ways, which also addresses your question, Arlene. When you have the core of a concept, you can see it from multiple perspectives. When you have the core of an idea, you can say, this makes sense and this makes sense. You know, the famous joke with the rabbi, the two litigants come before two neighbors come before the rabbi, they're fighting about something, and each one comes to the rabbi's house. Each one, the first guy says his version of the story, the rabbi says, you're right. The second one says his version of the story, the rabbi says, you're also right. And from the other room, the rebbitzin, the rabbi's wife says, how can they both be right? The rabbi says to her, you're also right. You're also right. So it takes a breadth. It takes a broad vision to be able to see the value of competing ideas. I see how this has truth, that has truth. It's almost like if you run anything, including your own life. I don't mean that. I mean, like if you're running anything, so you know that you're dealing with competing obligations or competing values. There are things that are very important. right? So like whether it's multiple kids, so you're navigating, this one wants this one wants that, and they're different opinions now. Now what do you do, right? Or it's multiple not priorities, but multiple things in your life. Like, yeah, let's say priorities, multiple priorities. It's not like you have one priority, you have multiple priorities. How do you balance those two priorities? They seem to be conflicting. So there's a skill of being able to see how it's not one or the other, but it's one and the other, and both have their place and both have their relevance. And when we see these from a greater place, a broader perspective, then we can hope to reconcile conflicting ideas. So in short, just to summarize, spoke about a lot of ideas, but I think really a few core points that I want to conclude with. So number one, we all have things that we understand the way we understand. That's because that's how our mind works. There's ways we understand things. The power of the question is a power to open up a new way of understanding. Because when either somebody else asks the question or we ourselves question ourselves, we are able to, it forces us to look at things in a new light. It's like the Or Choser versus the Or Yashar. It's the rebounding light versus the straightforward light. Straightforward light, that's easy, but you're only going to get that basic level light. It is what it is. But rebounding light, you put up a mirror, put up a block, now you can see something you never saw before, something you could not see, something that's beyond you. That's behind you is like beyond you. Something that's beyond your vision. You can't see it. You could only see it when somebody put up a mirror. So let's welcome the mirror in our lives. Let's welcome dissenting opinion. We don't have to get, what's the right word? Intimidated by that. We don't have to get frustrated by that. Let's embrace diversity of thought. We can disagree without being disagreeable, right? We can have different opinions and like Reish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, each one opened up new insights into the other one. And by the way, just the end of that story, Rabbi, they didn't agree at the end. It's not like when Reish Lakish opposed. It's not like when they said different opinions, they ultimately kumbayad and agreed. They still have two different opinions, but they appreciate each other's opinion, and each opinion became stronger because of the opposition of the other. And then they went home and had Thanksgiving dinner together and watched the Cowboys. That's tradition. Anyway, the point is Cowboys. I know it used to be when I was growing up, only 2 games. Now they have, it's all about money. Now it used to be Cowboys and Lions. You knew it was Thanksgiving. Dallas, and we've had the opportunity the last few years to go to Dallas for Thanksgiving break because my brother-in-law is the Chabad rabbi in Frisco, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas. We call him the Frisco Yid, but I digress. Anyway, no, yeah, legit. He calls himself that also. So we always go, tradition, we hang out by the Dallas Cowboys practice field. It's like we watch the game, there's a big screen. It's a lot of fun. Anywho, the point is like this: how to embrace the call of today is embrace the question, embrace the opportunity to go deeper in your own thoughts through challenge. And at the same time, to appreciate someone else's perspective, even if you're not going to adopt it as your own. But you appreciate someone has a different perspective. It's refreshing. Yeah.
I read this week one rabbi of France, Perpignan, passed away, Rabbi Desner, and I have what they say about him. They say he refused to be drawn into communal politics and as frequent mediators of conflict. He would end intense conversation with a sincere declaration. No matter what you think of me, I love you.
Wow. I'm going to repeat that. That's beautiful. So he just passed away?
Yes.
A Chabad rabbi in France?
No.
In southwest of France. Oh, like the wine? Pinot? No.
No.
Oh, I don't know. All right. Anyway, so Chabad rabbi in the south of France passed away. Pevsner. Yeah. So they say, in his little obituary there, it says that he never got dragged into politics. He always fought for peace. And at the end of he would always end a disagreement with, no matter what you think of me, I love you. That's powerful. That is very powerful. We should learn from him And that's a very powerful thing. And again, what we read inside the text is that the other thing that can bring out the depth of our ideas is speech. Share it with someone else. Run it by someone else. That also can bring out the depth of the profundity of the idea. Thank you very much for joining me this morning for Kabbalah Cafe. Hope you enjoyed it. And to our online crew, it's so great to have you here. David and Joy and Sarah and Danielle. Danielle from Arizona. Danielle, it is great having you here. And Ray and Adam, awesome. And Steve, if you're here also, great to have you here. All right.
How do you access this online?
It's a secret Zoom access. I'm kidding, not so secret. If you want, do you have my email address? Okay, I'm going to send you. So right now I'll send you an email. Oh, is it on the website? It is on the website, right? Yeah, I'll email. We'll do it right now before we close up shop. I'll email you and you'll have it. Because you said you're traveling, right?
Well, yeah, I'll be somewhere else.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Very good. All right. We'll see you all. Shavua Tov. Oh, this week. Let's see what we got. So this week we have a lot of stuff. Monday night, we have the happiness course and we have Stranger Things. 2 amazing courses. Tuesday night, we're launching the Smichat Chaver program, which is a communal smicha program, basically in-depth halacha learning. Right now, it's in person only and for men only. I do not design this program. This is an international program, but these are the rules of the program. I'm fighting for opening this up, but as of right now, it's for men and in person only. So if you're interested, let me know. It's going to be taught by Rabbi Mendy Weinberg, the new Chabad rabbi in Dunwoody, who is also a veteran smicha teacher. He ran a smicha institute in Manhattan prior to moving down here. He's from South Africa. He is a tremendous teacher. So that's going on. If you know anybody that's interested, let me know. It launches tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Wednesday.
So it's Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Sorry, not tomorrow night. So you guys were
Tuesday night.
Yes.
You have to listen.
See that? Unbelievable. I wasn't listening. Huh?
Crazy.
It's going to be here. It's really special. Oh, specifically the area of Jewish law that we're started, the first unit is going to be the rules and regs of getting ready, preparing for Shabbat. So like kind of Friday stuff, best practices to get ready for Shabbos, Friday night, laws regarding Kiddush and candle lighting, questions that come up. This is all very practical stuff. How early can you make Kiddush or light candles, etc. So there's manim and then Kiddush, and it's really a beautiful, beautiful in-depth halacha. And it's you get a certificate. You complete the unit. There's certificates signed by top rabbanim from international. This is not a Chabad program. This is a universal program, but there's a Chabad fork to the program that adds on where there's some nuances in practice or in custom. It adds on also the Chabad perspective as well. So it's a really special program that we're launching in our community in a few days, not tomorrow night, but Tuesday night, 8 to 9. It's 1 hour, 1 hour a week. That's it. Oh, and you get like materials that you can share with the family. There's for young kids, there's comics for the kids that they can be involved in the learning. It's a very cool program. So that's going on Tuesday evening. Wednesday is the course that I'm teaching, which is called My God. I still believe it should be called OMG. Oh my God, but whatever, it is what it is. I don't decide all the things. So that's Wednesday night. That's the JLI course, which we started last week. It's excellent. And then Thursday night, Rabbi Sally Levin is starting from Sandy Toko. So he is starting a new course called Practiced Judaism. Also a very practical look at Jewish practice throughout the day. This is kind of like daily Jewish practice. All right, so that's what's going on this week. That is 7:30 to 8:30. That's for men and women, and that is in person and on Zoom. So that Thursday night. So thanks for asking that question. You see, questions get us to a better place. So that's Thursday night, 7:30 to 8:30. It's 1 hour, and it is in person and on Zoom. men and women, open to all. I think that's all the details. And it's daily Jewish life. And it's, yeah. And it'll be taking place in the daily shul, I believe. Yeah. All right. Great. Stay tuned for more. We're launching more soon. So there's more stuff.
We're running out of days.
I know. I'm running out of days. But listen. The vision is, imagine you walk in on an evening and there's food, like a light dinner, but dinner available. And then you have multiple options. You have multiple classes. You could study chavruta. You can have a lecture. There's a men's thing, a women's thing, a combined thing, multiple things. It's like a mini retreat every night every Sunday morning. Imagine in the hallway, a buffet and a few programs going on over there, over here. We're getting there, and it's gonna be sooner than later that we're getting there. So it's gonna be multiple things, and and then during the day also we should talk about lunch, but we'll save that for another time. All right, slowly, huh? Lunch, yeah, but like it should be midday yom b'yomo every single day. We have something. There's an option. There's enough people. Yeah, with 60,000 Jews in this area. There's around in these. So enough to go around, and
So like potentially a redux of daily power parsha, please?
Yes. I hesitate. 1 second. I hesitate to, and also Torah studies. I hesitate to give a date on that and to commit. It is definitely. There's
It's a thought in your mind.
more than a thought in my mind. It's
good.
going to happen. It's just about setting things up. There's a lot of things need to set up to get things organized and, learn new spaces and new processes and everything and create new things, but we're definitely getting there. Stay tuned. I know I keep on saying that, but stay tuned as things build out. All right. Thank you all. David, Joy, Ray, Sarah, great to see you guys. Shavuot tov.
Shavuot tov.
See you guys.